Hi everyone, it's Michelle Evans again, and I'm going to talk about part 3 to this relationship that I got myself involved in. And where we left off, Gray and I had officially started talking to each other. We met on the Naked subreddit, and he had made a complimentary, though poorly worded, comment on my butt, which made me laugh. And then we started talking, and our conversations went from general inquisitiveness about what anal was like to having a serious discussion about his boyfriend, or his ex-boyfriend. His ex-boyfriend is a transgender female to male who hasn't had a sex change yet. So to me, that's still a woman technically, but sorry. I think I need some tea. Gray says that his partner was a man, so I'm going to respect that. He was a man. So his ex-boyfriend found out that Gray had cheated on him. Gray never went into details about who he cheated on him with, why he did it. I don't think that he knows why he did it. And our conversation started getting in-depth from this point on, because I said to him, there's two underlying factors. Whenever we cheat, it's either because we don't feel like we're good enough for the person that we're with, so we self-sabotage, or we're bored. And I tend to think that he's the latter and I'm the former because I am bored and he is unhappy. And I mean, when you're unhappy, you do things that don't always make sense. Whether you're hurting yourself or you're hurting someone close to you or you're even hurting a complete stranger, you know? Picking fights with people in public and stuff. It happens all the time. It's because people are unhappy. Now, we can all agree that life sucks, but it also consists of what we make of it. So I went from having bouts in my life where I was like seriously down to where I was like, wait, why am I doing this to myself? I have the world at my feet. I can do anything that I want. All of us can do anything that we want, but I wasn't taking it seriously. So that was another reason why I went and like got all skimpy and having fun, because I needed something more to my life than just predictability. With Drew, it's constant predictability, and to some people that's fabulous, and I can see the merit of that. I like the idea of knowing that he'll be home when I'm home, and that he likely won't cheat. But then again, it didn't seem likely that I would cheat. And I know that what I did was horrible, and everyone can sit there and say, oh, well, I hope it doesn't happen to me, but it could happen to any of us, and it could happen to me too. I could think that I'm with the best person in the world, and then it could all come crashing down because of something that they perceive that I did, or something that I really did do to hurt them. So the point being is, Gray cheated on his boyfriend at the time. His boyfriend at the time. I got it mixed up, sorry. And I wasn't looking for anything at all. Dating just wasn't appealing to me. I wasn't trying to get involved in something else because I already couldn't handle the relationship that I had. So I was like, well, I'm definitely not going to be able to handle a second relationship, a cheating relationship where I have a side piece. How am I supposed to keep them both satisfied? Right. So Drew has been depressed and he keeps going to New Jersey to be with his family. And that's all good with me because I don't like his family. I don't believe that they like me, and that's fine. You know, not everyone's going to get along. We don't argue, but there's always an element of tension. His family comes from a lot of money. Mine does not. I'm not with him for that. I don't want to know anything about any inheritance that he'll get. And I don't want to know what's in his bank account. It's not my business. And I don't ever want people to sit there and say, oh, well, you're with him for the wrong reasons. Like, if I have to sell my house on the street, I will. I don't want a man to have to pay for everything. I don't want to be owned per se. You know, I'd rather make my own money, however it is that it's done. So, his parents don't seem to understand that. I don't know what I ever did to rub them the wrong way. Or maybe they're just making assumptions because I'm not the type of girl that he's brought around before. And they're already pretty narrow-minded and prejudiced as it is. So, Drew, as a result, has been going to his parents' house a lot. And he's been there all weekend, and we have not talked since Friday afternoon, which was yesterday. And that's fine. Like, I'm not missing him. And the only reason I noticed was because it is now dark out again, and I haven't heard from him. And I'm like, okay. I don't miss his company. And I hate to say it. I feel like a real asshole. But I don't miss him. He's a great human being. He's a beautiful person. Physically and spiritually. He's gorgeous. But he's not enough for me. He's just not enough. He's not a challenge. He's not that interesting. He has no hobbies. And any talents that he has, he doesn't embellish. So, like, we can't sit there and talk about things that we like to do. Like, I collect dolls, for example. And I collect My Little Pony figurines. But, like, the old ones from back in, like, 1980-something. I love them. And, he has nothing to contribute to that. He bought figurines of each subway line from New York City, and that's it. And when I asked him, why don't we buy you a shelf so that way you can start collecting stuff and displaying it, so that way it doesn't feel like I'm taking over everything. You have a say in this too. This is your apartment too. Let's build you a shelf. Let's get you started on something cool to do. Legos, puzzles, anything. And he's zero interest. All he wants to do is sit there and watch the boring ass MSNBC news or frigging News 12, which is the most ghetto news ever, or he sits there and feels bad for himself. I try to incite a sexy moment, nothing. I try to make him laugh, nothing. I try to talk to him about stuff, and all he says is, I'm worried about my health insurance. I'm worried about my job. I'm worried about whatever conceivable or inconceivable thing that you could come up with, it's on his mind. And I can't take it anymore. Some people are brooding. I'm not. I mean, I go through moments where I mull things over. We all do. We get moody. But he is like this all the time. There is not an element of happiness in this man. And I have come to a point where I'm tired of trying to be his court jester. I'm tired of trying to make him laugh like a clown. I'm tired of trying to be his seductress. I'm tired of being his mom when his mom is away. I can't do this anymore. So all this shit is what Gray and I started talking about. And Gray has told me that he has a close relationship with his family, but that his parents are reformed alcoholics, and that his mom escaped a horrible, abusive situation that I'm not going to get into out of respect for her privacy. And it was terrible. Even for me. And I don't get, like, emotional. I thought it was disgusting and hideous. And it made me want to kick her parents' asses. So it's like, you know. Some people are just so foul that it does make me wonder if there really is such a thing as hell. Because there's no way a normal human being would do that. So, Gray also goes through depression. And initially, I was not expecting any kind of romance. I was just, like, trying to give him advice because I've been through it. A couple of my close friends have similar problems. And the man that I'm intended to also has the same problem. So, we start talking more detailed. And he tells me about how he how he cheated and how his ex had broken up with him and he was very suicidal, and I had given him some kind of hope that he wasn't a horrible person. And we went from comment section on one of my pictures to, 1,000 DMs. So he tells me he's from the West Coast, I'm from the East, and he tells me what it's like over there. Some stuff I already heard about and knew, But it's nice to hear it from the perspective of someone who lives there, who's not just like reiterating all the garbage that we hear. So it wasn't just about, oh, it rains. It's like, yeah, okay, it rains. So what? You know, he he told me about the surrounding area, what it's like, what it feels like, what it smells like, all these beautiful things that were so in tune with your senses that I could almost feel it. And I was like, I've always wanted to leave New York. I'd love to see that. And I think that admitting that I was unhappy where I'm at, because I've lived here my whole life, and I desperately, desperately want to change, I think once I admitted that he kind of started to take it as a green light. So I came up with this stupid game called Does Your State Have This? So we would, I'd be like, do you guys have Family Dollar? or he would ask me if we have a Shake Shack and stuff like that. Just like restaurants that we thought were only like, or stores that we thought were only found in our states. So there were some that we had in common, and there were some that neither of us had ever heard of, and it was like astounding. And then we started talking about shows that we like, and we both love the American version of The Office. And then he started telling me about the British one and how the boss there is even more cringy than Michael. And I was like, that's impossible. And we talked about how my mom knew Seinfeld before he was famous, because she did. They worked at a restaurant together. And all of these things started coming up, things that we believe in, philosophies, how we both of us are child free. I had mentioned that in my other video. I got sterilized, and he wants to do the same thing at some point. He does not want kids either. And that was one of the things that we talked about, and how there are already too many people in the world, and resources are depleting. And what are we going to do as a society as technology takes over? That means that jobs are going to become more minimal. So how are we supposed to take care of the creatures that are here, the humans that are already in existence? And should there be population control, and the benefits of sex education and abortion rights and all these things? And he was so insightful. It was like talking to someone who not only understood what it was that I was trying to convey, but it was so natural, and the conversation flow was so perfect that it was like talking to one of my oldest friends. Like I knew him all along. And it went from there to, hey, do you want my email address or something? Just for funny things that we find, because you can't always send links on unless it's through Imgur, which is so stupid. But if you're talking on the chat, what is it called? I'm sorry. If you're using the chat application on Reddit, you can't send stuff unless it's through an Imgur link. So I was like, well, if I find something funny or whatever, can I email you? And he's like, well, can I have your number? I was like, okay, we're cool, we're getting along. So I gave him my number. And he asked to see what I looked like eventually, with clothes on. It wasn't anything like, oh, baby, send me this. It wasn't anything like that. He was very respectful. And I sent him a picture that I had taken of myself earlier. And my hair was back, sort of, but it was still down, and I was wearing a black and white top. It looked kind of rockabilly. And he was like, wow. He's like, you're beautiful. And I was like, okay, you have to say that. And then he started explaining why he thought I was beautiful, and he sent me a picture of himself. And I thought he was just like the cutest thing. He looks like Harry Potter. But like better looking. I don't know. How like when Daniel Radcliffe started getting older and he became like too good looking to be Harry Potter? That's what Gray looks like to me. And it blew up from there. So I will continue this later on. My videos are sporadic. I do have a life, so I can't just like do them all the time. But we're reaching the closeout point of 15 minutes, so I gotta go.